One photography concept that I talk about sometimes here on Weekly 50 is that of looking for photo opportunities wherever you happen to be. And this is something that I have encountered many times over the years as a photographer, where I'll be looking around and I'll have my camera and I'll just think, man, there's nothing I can photograph here. Whatever the scene is, it's not interesting enough to take a picture. And sometimes, like every now and then, that's actually true. But a lot of times it's not. And if I just look a little harder, I will see something that will make a good photograph. This is kind of the opposite of that, because this is a scene that I have seen many times. This is a mug of tea. It's a large mug. My tea mug that I use is actually a soup mug. And I drink like 20 ounces of tea or whatever whatever you can fit in this mug. And it's my tea sitting out in the morning, steeping while I eat breakfast. And I actually took this the day after the time change. So we switched from daylight savings to Central Standard, or whichever it was. This is in November. And we had more light in the morning. So I was sitting there with my kids on a Sunday morning before church, and we're eating breakfast, and I see that my mug of tea there's steam rising up from my mug of tea, and it's backlit as the sun is coming through the window. And I thought, man, that's just really cool. Like, I have seen this before many times, and I've often thought, I should get a picture of that, and I never do. So this wasn't a case of I should look harder for the photo opportunities. It was really a case of I see this photo opportunity a lot. I should actually take advantage of it. First, I want to say that nothing in this picture has been altered by me. Like, I didn't pose this. I didn't arrange anything in a particular way. This is exactly as it was when I noticed the scene. And I thought about maybe adjusting things like the strings on the tea bags, like putting those off to the side. If you look closely, you can see the label Sprouts, which is the grocery store where I got the tea bags. And I thought, well, I don't want to be advertising for Sprouts. Like, I should move that. But I thought, it is exactly as it was when I saw it. So I just wanted it to represent as true to real life as possible without any edits or alterations on my part. So this is exactly the scene. And in fact, it's shot from about the same angle as I was sitting. I didn't put my camera like exactly where my head would be, but I had this same vantage point. And I shot this with my D750, my macro lens, even though this doesn't really need a macro lens at all. I like the focal length. It's 105 millimeter focal length, and it's just great for photos like this. I also like that on that lens, it doesn't matter how close you get to the subject. And sometimes that's an issue with like my 50 millimeter lens or my 85 is I want to take a picture of something, but my lens simply can't focus that closely to whatever it is, even if I don't want to take a macro shot. And with a macro lens, you never have to worry about that. It's always going to be close enough to focus. So I wanted a nice, clean image. I used a tripod, turned off vibration reduction, and set ISO 100, so turned off auto ISO. Actually, no, I set ISO 400 because I needed to balance the ISO and the aperture and the shutter speed to get this particular exposure. I realized that if I set the ISO to 100, well, I wanted f3 as my aperture. If I set the ISO to 100, I needed a longer shutter speed. And I quickly saw that if this was like 1/10 of a second, instead of a nice curl of steam, you just got this white, messy cloud. It just wasn't interesting. So I kept on playing with ISO and shutter until I got a good exposure at what is what you see here, a 45th of a second. And it's enough to freeze the steam in time, but still get a sense of movement. And I really like it. And if you go to Flickr and you zoom in on the original, you'll see these little echoes of steam, like as in that 45th of a second, as the steam is curling around, you can see like little braids or strands of hair almost. It's really cool, but you got to zoom in for the full effect. If you're looking at this on a phone, you might not see it. Go to Flickr, and which you can do on your phone, and just pull up the full size original and zoom in. It's pretty neat. I also took a ton of photos. I think it took like 50 photos because I didn't know. You can't train the steam to look a certain way. And so I just thought, well, if I'm going to get a good picture of steam, I need a whole bunch of photos to choose from. So that's what I did. And I just kept on taking more and more and more photos until I got this shot here. It was super fun to take. And hopefully I can take more like this. Maybe not this exact same one, but hopefully I can use this as like inspiration for future photos.